Welcome back to Football Daily and Transfer Talk, where we have another roundup of all the latest gossip and rumours concerning the Premier League's biggest clubs. Remember, the most liked comment will feature on this week's Sunday Vibe, so make sure you leave your comments below. Let's get started. After finally recovering from a hamstring injury sustained during last summer's Euros with France, Ousmane Dembele has now been declared fit to play for Ronald Koeman's Barcelona. But whilst he will soon be back on the Camp Nou pitch, his long-term future at the club remains shrouded in mystery. Out of contract at the end of this season and no closer to signing an extension, with Juventus and now Newcastle known and admired as the 24-year-old, the Blaugrana are faced by a difficult situation. They could take the same approach as they did with Elias Moriba and relegate him to the reserves if he continues to resist extending his deal, but with a market value of £45 million, that doesn't seem like the best approach, as he'd then likely leave for free next summer. The best option, especially because they could do with his dynamic presence on the right hand side and ability to run in behind, is to reintegrate him into the team as soon as possible, hoping that his form returns and he's persuaded to extend his stay in Catalonia. As for the clubs interested, Juventus have been linked with Dembele for years, but with Max Allegri already struggling to give enough minutes to right winger Kulusevski, who ranks 16th in the old lady squad for minutes played, and even Chiesa, who he left on the bench until the end of the second half of the Derby d'Italia, we struggle to see Dembele getting the game time he needs in Turin. According to Sport, Dembele's agent has been in touch with Newcastle as well, with a transfer in January potentially on the table, or an agreement ahead of moving on a free next summer. Having contributed 30 goals and 21 assists in 118 games for Barcelona, or 0.4 goal contributions per game, Dembele would certainly have the quality to improve a Newcastle side that currently sit 19th in the table, 3 points from safety. But having missed close to 100 games with injury since his £97 million move from Borussia Dortmund in 2017, can Newcastle afford to make him the poster boy of their new project? Magpies fans, what do you think? Is he worth the risk, and if you signed him permanently in January, what would you be willing to pay for him? Whilst Dembele's teammate Gavi has been attracting plenty of plaudits this term for his composed midfield displays, forcing even the most angry culés to get excited about the prospect of him linking up with Pedri when the Spaniard is back to full fitness, one Barcelona midfielder struggling somewhat at the moment is Frenkie de Jong. Having played an insane 93 matches for Barcelona over the last 2 completed seasons, it's easy to forget that de Jong is still only 24 and very much learning his trade. He had a poor day at the office against Luka Modric and Real Madrid on Sunday, completing just 2 tackles, failing to complete a dribble and creating just 1 chance, before being substituted in the 77th minute, just the second time this season Koeman has brought him off. His numbers suggest there isn't too much to worry about, however. His defensive actions have remained at a solid 2.5 per 90, while he now completes 2.4 dribbles per 90, the best record of any midfielder in Spain. And whilst he loves the club and has 5 years remaining on his current deal, there is a feeling that unless Barcelona considerably improve over the next 6 to 12 months, he could be tempted to move to a club with an actual possibility of winning Europe's biggest prizes. Calcio Mercato claim that Bayern Munich and Man City are monitoring his situation, and they both provide 2 fascinating alternatives. The 31-time German champions already have a stacked midfield, with Kimmich, Goretzka and Sabitzer competing for 2 slots behind Müller, who operates as a number 10 behind Lewandowski. City, though, is an intriguing option. 36-year-old Fernandinho has only been given 186 minutes of Premier League action so far, and will likely retire at the end of the season. Could de Jong head to Manchester and become an alternative to Rodri in the holding role? Or with De Bruyne 31 next summer and Gundogan having just hit that number, could de Jong be a smart acquisition to play in one of the box-to-box roles? What's clear is that with so much time left on his contract, his £81 million valuation and huge importance to Barcelona, he would cost well in excess of £100 million. Do you guys think he's worth it? You know what to do. We head to London now, where talks between Chelsea and one of their star defenders have broken down. But no, having brought you the news yesterday that Rudiger is interesting a number of top European and Premier League clubs over on Euro Transfer Talk, we can now reveal that contract talks between the Blues and their Danish centre-back Andreas Christensen have reached an impasse. At least that's according to Goal, who claim that their discussions have broken down after 2 months of radio silence from both parties. The report adds that Chelsea did offer an extension to the 25-year-old, who has been with the club since joining from Brøndby in 2012, which offered him a significant pay rise, but still had him amongst the lowest earners of the club. Christensen isn't likely to be happy about this. He's featured in 18 of the 26 Premier League games he's been available for, and started both legs of the Champions League semi-final and 51 minutes of the final after Thiago Silva's injury. With Christensen having come on leaps and bounds under the tutelage of the German, he'll no doubt want to continue his development in West London. But with his current deal set to expire next summer, unless Chelsea reflect his value to the first team, he might think he's better placed playing elsewhere. Chelsea fans, we want to hear from you. How much do you want to keep Christensen? And if you can't, what would you be happy to sell him for in January? Let us know down below. Before we get onto the managerial situation at Man United, there is plenty of speculation around which players they will look to bring in next summer, no matter who is in charge. Vijay's claim that the club are targeting 3 players when the summer transfer window opens. Inter Milan's Nicolo Barella, Juve's Federico Chiesa, and Atletico Madrid's Kieran Trippier, who they tried and failed to sign last summer. These seem like a load of rubbish though for a number of reasons. Although Trippier was heavily linked with a return to England, with Arsenal and Man United leading the chase for his signature, and signing a right back to either replace or provide competition for Wan-Bissaka is absolutely essential, we can't see it being the 35 capped England international. Having recently turned 31 and with 2 years remaining on his current deal, Trippier wouldn't be a long-term option, and wouldn't even be particularly cheap. It's our opinion that if United were to look to upgrade that area, Napoli's Di Lorenzo or RB Leipzig's Mukiele would be much better options. And having signed Jadon Sancho this summer at vast expense, one of the best emerging wingers in world football, who lit up the Bundesliga and Champions League with Dortmund, why would United fork out what would be at least £70 million to sign Federico Chiesa? The strangest part of this article though is the links to Nicolo Barella, who whilst a brilliant player and arguably the best midfielder in Serie A, is miles away from the defensive midfielder they need, having averaged just 2 tackles and interceptions per 90 this term. All these signings would be far from perfect for United, so we believe this is a news outlet trying to take advantage of the managerial chaos at the club by trying to sell papers. We advise they get in the bin. Right guys, now it's time for the big one. What is going on at Man United? As a word of warning, this is an ever-changing situation which is constantly evolving, meaning that it might have even changed before this video goes live. Man United got completely embarrassed by Liverpool at the weekend, losing 5-0, their biggest defeat to their rivals in 126 years. They have now failed to win any of their last 4 Premier League games, scoring 3 goals and conceding 11 in that run, slipping to 7th, 8 points behind leaders Chelsea. If the Blues continue at this rate, they are set to finish with 93 points, United just 59. That would be their lowest points tally of the Premier League era, 5 fewer than they accumulated under David Moyes, whilst the 34-point gap to champions Chelsea, in this imaginary scenario, would be 15 more than it was between United and Pep Centurions. It's only been 9 games, but United have been very, very poor, and Solskjaer is understandably under immense pressure. As it stands, United haven't yet decided to sack Solskjaer. Fabrizio Romano claims that the majority of the board, along with Sir Alex Ferguson, want to give the former striker another chance against Spurs this weekend. This is supported by James Ducker and Jason Burt of The Telegraph, who claim that he is expected to remain in charge after crisis talks, and this is backed up by Laurie Whitwell of The Athletic, who says he is under huge pressure but is safe for now. Most reports seem to suggest that the Norwegian has 3 games to save his job, which just so happen to be Spurs, Atalanta and Man City. Gulp. Whitwell's piece on The Athletic revealed that multiple squad members have expressed doubts that Solskjaer is strong enough tactically to get them competing at the top of the table, that Eric Bailly was offended by a half-fit Maguire's inclusion for Leicester away, and that they don't work on pressing in training, something that was all too evident last weekend. So for now it appears that Solskjaer will remain in charge and faces the prospect of playing Spurs this weekend. The Lily Whites currently sit 6th, 1 point ahead of United, but haven't impressed this season. At the moment, their attack ranks 18th by expected goals and their defence 13th by expected goals against, leaving us in a strange scenario where a victory against a fairly average Spurs side might keep Ole in the job. As for replacements, multiple sources claim Conte would be very interested in taking the job, and other targets include Zidane and Rodgers. If they were to wait until next summer, The Athletic claim Graham Potter would enter the mix. Guys, we want to hear from you. What do you think United should do? And if they do sack Ole, who should they bring in to replace him? So guys, that was transfer talk for another week. What did you guys think of the stories? Do you see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being sacked this week or potentially next week? Let me know in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to Football Daily for more great content, and I'll catch you next time.